still hear ourselves in the
The
room.
one that needs to hear you will hear you.
Are you with Verizon?
Hey, Josh.
Yeah.
It's upstairs that you have to worry about,
Amen.
not down here.
Is there a third floor here?
Highway to heaven.
Couldn't resist, sorry.
Hey, Doug, make sure you're 6 feet away.
Rick,
Sir?
a big one.
Okay.
Yeah. One we all hope to see one day.
Not too soon.
Not yet.
The man's got the easement document to try to get signed, okay?
Hey, John, they're still unblemished, too. Well, according to Verizon, it's 7 o'clock. This is a meeting of the Common Council of the City of Bluffton, April 14, 2020, 7 p.m. All members of the council are here, therefore we have a quorum. We would ask you to rise while Councilman Josh Hunt gives our invocation.
Let us pray. Father, please help all the first responders as they meet this challenge head on. Father, be with the health and safety of all of our city employees that continue to serve our community. Be with the federal, state, and local governments as they manage this crisis. Be with this governing body as we work through the city of Bluffton's projects. Be with the contractors that are dealing with this challenging time. The citizens of Bluffton that have been unemployed by no fault of their own. Father, be with the nonprofits, churches, as they change their style of worship and service. Lift up the businesses that are pivoting their processes to adapt to this new reality. Please be with the educators and students as they press on with the school year. Lift up the families that are struggling with domestic battery and abuse, and help us keep our eyes fixed on you as we go forward. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda this evening is Ordinance Number 1517, which is just merely being introduced this evening. Our time frame will be the actual adoption of the agreement will take place on May 12th.
Yes.
And that will also be the night, assuming the Planning Commission moves Antiva forward, that'll be the same night we do the Antiva.
Excuse me, John.
Yes,
The bond ordinance, the ban bond ordinance.
it's 28th
The 28th.
of
20th.
April,
Yeah.
right?
That would, when it
Yeah,
will happen.
okay. Does anybody have any questions about this ordinance that we can pass on to either Ice Miller or Baker Tilly?
I guess I just had a question about, it just said not to exceed 11 million. Is that just a real rough estimate, or is that
Well,
anywhere close to the,
that's going to be,
that's going to be in the ballpark?
Yeah.
Okay.
plus we have some money in the electric department account. Now, we've talked about, and I'll bring this up, I'll bring it up a little later, but one of the things we want to be protective of our money going into the next several months, because we don't know how much money we're going to have. And so it's better to cinch up the belt a little bit and not go on any spending sprees, because budgeting is going to be a lot of fun. And Bluffton's in the same boat as a lot of your municipalities. You just don't know what we're going to see in revenue. So anyway, the next item on our agenda is resolution number 2020-04. And Tammy, you want to describe?
As John mentioned, revenue is going to be coming in oddly for the next few months. And on the police pension, this goes to pay the pensioners from the old police pension plan. We have 10 currently on it. We normally get payment from the state in May and in October. But with everything going on, I honestly am not expecting a payment from them in May. And we had one of them passed in April, so we had to pay out a death penalty or a death benefit of $12,000 that's required by statute, and that left us $10,000 in the fund. So this will be a temporary loan just to get us past the next 4 months, which I figure 4 months we should be back in normal, getting the normal state distribution from there.
Just out of curiosity, Tammy, has the state advised us that that's going
They haven't, but with us not even having enough to pay May's wages, I wanted to go ahead and get this one done. I'm keeping an eye also on MVH and Park. I'm expecting that those may be down the road that we have to do something. Usually we have to with Park. So far we haven't yet this year because John and I put a hold on anything but necessary stuff when COVID took place. And so that has helped not using too much right now. I think the TEL is going to start with the May gas distribution will give us a rough idea. Comparing it with last year's May distribution will give us a better idea about what we can expect. But with this one being normally received in May, our normal wages is $23,000, and we have about $13,000 in the fund right now. I think it is. So that one, this one, I need to have so we don't go in the hole.
And one other thing with the, in terms of looking at cash flow, what memory serves me right, Tammy, we have 3 paydays in May, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be May would have the third pay.
You know, these 3 payday months, while they're good for employees, they're not so good when it comes to cash flow. So anyway, one of the things that may occur to offset the loss of money on the motor vehicle side, maybe we'll see a increase in alcohol taxes.
Yes, I did read that certain sales have went up 500%.
Oh, gosh.
A lot more time on their hands.
And the temporary loan is out of the self-insurance fund, which we do have $3 million in self-insurance, so that it's not going to hurt self-insurance any.
Could I have a motion for us to approve resolution number 2020-04?
I'll move to approve resolution 2020.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions? If not, all those in favor of the resolution, please raise your right hand.
I'll
Those
get signatures afterwards.
Motion's carried. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the interlocal cooperation agreement with the county. I will mention that the county council and the commissioners and the Board of Works have all approved their portions of this interlocal agreement. So the only thing left is the approval of participation with the city council. So, and I think all of you got a copy of the map that's got the Hoosier Highway reconfiguration and butting into the Adams Street property. So are there any questions about this interlocal agreement? I think it just needs an approval that we approve the agreement.
Roger made a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I'm sorry. Josh, did you second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions? If not, all those in favor of the approval of the agreement, please raise your right hand. Those opposed, the motion's carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an update on the utility construction, I'm going to say projects. John, do you want to fill us in?
Have that mic and turn it on, John. You can hold it or whatever.
This will do. It's right up there where I need it.
Okay.
So we'll start with phase one of the water system project. Phase one, Freuger Excavating did the surface, has done some surface groundwork, cut drives, and just got the surface ready. Before anything else could happen, we had a snafu between the subcontractor and the general contractor on who was supposed to order pipe. So that cost us about 3 weeks. And then in the midst of that, we were informed yesterday or the day before that Crosby Excavating team has been possibly exposed to the virus. So they are in quarantine until the 23rd of this month, and then they hope to revisit. And perhaps when they're ready to roll again, the pipe will be here and we'll hit the ground running. Phase two is the extensions of the main, and we started at Schwartz Ditch or Captain's Ditch, whichever you want to call it. It borders Tim and Brad Captain's land, and on the other side is Nazarene Church, if I'm not mistaken. So it's across the fields roughly 1,600 feet, and we've reached the 800 feet mark today. And we'll continue tomorrow, and that's going well. And we did that first so that the farmers could hit the ground running on their spring project. So that's phase two. All the pipe, to my knowledge, is sitting on ground at the Cherry Street property, ready to go for the phase two and for the Sanitary Norse project as well. And phase three of the water system project is the tank out past 300 North on State Road 1. They have poured 110 yards of cement so far. Of course, they dug the foundation and done rebar work up to that. But as of today, they've poured 110 yards, and that's going well. They will have another pour yet this week and hope to finish, if all goes well, they hope to finish the foundation work late next week. So I'll backtrack to last week where we were informed by McGuire Tank Company, but their crew had been affected by the virus situation in Illinois and was quarantined there. And they say they've lost about 2 months due to the virus. So they were going to try to get this way or try to reactivate May 12th, roughly, but maybe not directly here. So contract-wise, what will contracts and the virus, when they meet next May, what will that situation be? Stay tuned. We have a lot of time before then. We had a lot of summer to make up ground. How much did they expect to get done in the Indiana spring anyway? So we've had some decent weather, and we've got some things done. Everything's going relatively well, considering. And so yeah, let's move on to the North Sewer Extension Project. We have NIPSCO's been in and moved a gas line that needed moved. Sprunger Tree Service has cleared 250 feet of wooded area. They have 700 more to go, and they cleared a row of trees from the plant property itself. So, to my understanding, there's some field work to be done near the highway, Dustman Road or 116. There's some potholing that needs done then or there, and before we put a shovel in the ground. But the pipe is here, and it sits at Cherry Street as well. So Matt with VTF said they'll start and put that shovel in soon. Okay. Moving along to Substation Project, we signed the agreement with Patriot Engineering out of Fort Wayne, and they'll do the geotech study at the 2 sites that's required by ABB to start the project, do the groundwork. So they say they'll be in next week to do that. And all manufacturing and ordering and manufacturing schedules are on schedule and have not been affected by virus or weather. So good news on that front. Everything's moving along swimmingly and going as planned.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Anybody have any questions they want to ask John? Thank you, John, for
Thank you.
a lot of things going on, a lot of good things going on. Okay, the next item on the agenda is an update on the 2020 project, and I've asked Tony to fill us in. There's been some changes on some timelines that were originally published. So, Tony.
Sure. So the new timeline, the next item that needs to take place is the Plan Commission needs to adopt an order approving the amendment to the plan. So, and we can't do anything until that happens. So they're set to meet on the 23rd. If they don't meet on the 23rd, then it's going to push everything out farther. So
We're going to meet digitally,
okay.
so
good,
we should be good to
good.
go there.
Yeah, I've been working with their attorney to give him information on what he needs to do to have a public meeting in light of everything that's going on. So that's good news. So if they do meet and adopt that order, then on the 28th of April, this council will consider a resolution to approve that Plan Commission's order. And if that takes place, then on May 12th is when a lot of activity takes place. The Economic Development Commission will meet. The council will meet to adopt the bond ordinance, and the Redevelopment Commission will have a public hearing all on that same night. And if everything goes well at those hearings on May 12th, then the agreement, the bond purchase agreement, everything should take place around May 14th.
Right.
So, and then the closing on May 28th is the way it's scheduled right now. So,
Okay.
so hopefully the Plan Commission will meet and get that action taken, then everything else will start falling into place.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Any questions for Tony on our timeline? Okay. The final item on tonight's agenda are the city financials, and as Tammy has alluded, it's going to be interesting next several months, not knowing when we're going to get our distributions. We know we're not going to get all of our property tax distributions because the timeline's been pushed back on that. It's my understanding, Tammy, that this municipalities can ask for, I don't know if you call it an early distribution.
It's called an advanced distribution.
Advanced distribution. Now, some of the property tax, for example, those folks who have their property tax taken out on a monthly basis along with their insurance and mortgage, that money has to be submitted on a timely basis.
Look at that.
With the due date. So that money will be coming in, but how much money that is, I have no earthly idea.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know if...
What I'll do is I should get a normal check, usually around the beginning of June, if they stick with the way they normally do it. And then I would ask for an advance, maybe beginning of July, of whatever they've collected up to that point. And then they would give us the final distribution probably in August.
And I think in the meantime, we're going to have to start giving serious consideration as to what our budget's going to look like. I guess it would be difficult to do anything other than flatline it from last year. There's so many unknowns that it would be hard to project increases in any particular area. The other thing that we are in the process of trying to figure out, and Pam Vanderkolk and John Gerber and I met to talk briefly about what's the parks system summer going to look like. You know, here it is almost getting to be May, and kids would be practicing baseball, and, you know, the leagues would be starting up. Well, it's, you know, going to be difficult because as I shared with Pam, you know, I don't think Indiana's hit the apex yet. And then even after the apex, there are going to be cases of the virus. And what's that going to look like? You know, are we going to continue to do the social distancing and all the things we've been doing? You know, kids are kids. They're going to, you know, whether they're playing baseball or basketball. And the big question is the pool. I mean, because it takes a lot of money to start it up. And, you know, at what point do you say, you know, it's safe for a bunch of kids to get together and swim? And I wish I had the answer. I don't think there's a firm answer, but those are some of the things that we're struggling with, and I'd like to hear comments from council members. I know Pam's supposed to be tuned in, so she's going to
They usually start working on the pool the first week in May.
You know, I mean, it is sad because it's part of our culture here.
Right, right.
But there is no definitive opinion on what's safe yet. And I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, there's been a lot of discussion in the area about events throughout the coming summer. You know, will there be a 4-H fair? Will there be a street fair? I mean, that's a discussion right now. I think you plan for as much, you keep things ongoing as much as you can, but there's some variables that we simply can't fill in right now.
Yeah. And Pam mentioned the Keel Park series. That, you know, the concert series, that's another popular event that, you know, she's got events booked now. And
because there's two aspects to it. There's the official aspect where the state would come in and say, Governor Holcomb would say, you know what, it's okay. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And then there's the psychological aspect of people going, you know, is it okay? Should I go? Is it set? You know what I mean? I don't know. I wish we did know.
How does that work? Say we booked a band or something like that, and we've got this issue where we can't even have the event. Are they going to get rescheduled for the following year and get credit for it, or?
Most of those.
Gosh, I don't know.
Most of those contracts have an act of God clause in it that you wouldn't have to reimburse them if it was an act of God. Most of them. So and probably reschedule them.
There's no viruses in heaven, man.
Okay.
Probably be
Point well taken.
attorney time involved
Yeah,
in
right.
interpreting what
Yeah.
an act of God is.
Yeah.
I've been wondering about this. If I understand the normal planning process and so on, I'm hopeful that with some of the activities, there could be an expedited process that was held in waiting.
Right.
That is, there has to be a time in which it just doesn't make sense to open the pool, but maybe it could open a week later or 2 weeks later or
Point of no
whatever.
return or something.
And have things ready to go, and I'm sure the parks will have that.
Yeah,
But
right.
I'm hopeful that we don't make a decision early that we could have changed later if we had a expedited process available. So,
I agree with that.
because it
for
is
sure.
part of the culture and the plan for
Right.
kids, and they're not going to get to live this year again.
No.
And so hopefully they can be accommodated if possible.
Yeah, I think they've taken enough from them. You know, we're going to strip the entire summer from them too, and maybe we have to. I mean,
I
it's
have
not really our call, I guess.
I have a text from Pam. IPRL, which is the Indiana Park and Recreation Association, We'll be having an Aquatics Meeting Thursday. I will be contacting bands by early May to see what they are thinking, so.
Okay.
So maybe at the aquatic meeting, Pam might get some direction on what other municipalities are doing.
One more comment. I'm hopeful if the contracts have not been let, that a clause could be added to the contracts defining the virus as an act of God, or to be included as an act of God, because we could end up spending a lot of time and money trying to resolve that.
Or if there's a governor order from the state level,
Right.
that we lean on that first, that, because it's not really our laws that are stopping anything here, so.
And there's a lot of dynamics with the pool, because you got all your personnel. How long do you push them off?
Because the hires have already been made, right? They've already made all the hires and everything, and they've got.
Well, they haven't started
yet.
Okay.
And then the other thing you've got, filling the pool and, getting.
Well, there's the cost of the chemicals to start it up.
Start it up,
That's a big
Now,
amount.
some of the chemicals were prepaid from last
Okay.
year. And which is a good
And you
thing.
could only delay so long,
Yeah, you
because
can-
you're going to close down the
It's a short,
first or
Yeah.
second week in
Short
August when
window.
school starts.
And it takes
so-
400,000 gallons of water to fill the pool. Then you're going to turn around weeks after and drain half of that water back into our sewer system to be processed. So there's a lot of things to consider. And we do take it seriously, because it is a part of what we do is the community pool. And so we do take it seriously, but there has to be some point of no return. I'm not sure what that is.
what's a normal start date for the pool?
Memorial Week.
Memorial Day.
You say right before June, okay, so.
And see, now,
No,
the
I
kids go back to school in August.
Yeah.
So your window of
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
revenue is pretty small anymore. And that's been one of the problems.
One thing on revenue too is with the property taxes being delayed, there could very easily be people that don't pay property tax this year and have to pay it next year or something. What most people don't realize is we're penalized when they do that. Excuse me. If someone does not pay taxes this year, we're expecting that tax this year, and our budget is based on getting that tax this year. If we don't get that tax till next year, that's considered an excess levy that we received, an excess tax levy, because we received more than what we were expecting next
Really?
year. So it's deducted from our budget because we received excess, even though it's money that was due us
Right.
from a previous year. That's the state
That just doesn't make any
mentality.
logical sense. Tim.
No, it doesn't, because it's money that should have been ours to
Well,
begin
maybe
with.
they'll make an exception and.
I was
So-
going to say, I hope we're in touch with Senator Holdman and
We-
Representative
The
Lehman.
clerk treasurers for years have been trying to get them to change that language, and we have not gotten them to change it. We can collect 2% over what we're expecting. So we can get 2% back, old, uncollected, without a penalty. But and that's really bad if it's a factory or something that's paying late. But yeah, that's a statute that we've been trying to get changed, because it's money that's been owed us. So we should not be penalized again, because we were penalized in the year we got it because we didn't get it. And then we're penalized in the year we get it because we got it.
Is there any activity at AIM on that particular subject matter?
Not in the last few years. They've been concentrating on other things now. The Clerk Treasurers League has tried to work on it several different times, but it's not really went anywhere.
I'd be glad to be part of an effort to contact them. We've never had this before.
Yeah.
They're making exceptions everywhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
In all other
Right.
areas of government, there's historical exceptions for things.
I got another text from Pam. Pool season's about 12 weeks long, so Okay. I think one thing we learned, number one, texting works. Thank you, Pam, for verifying the text does work. You can eliminate my phone number now, but now that the public knows what it is, no, but that's fine. Anything else to come before the council at this time?
I know that it's kind of been short term, but I mean, are we seeing any big drastic changes in utility payments and short-term payments?
It's been too short.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's been long enough.
Yeah.
Stay tuned a month or two.
Maybe we can, encourage everybody that's got their property taxes and their utility bills. If you can do it, then go ahead and send the checks, right?
Yeah.
If not, because they're doing a 60-day wait on
Yes.
property taxes, and that's pretty appealing to a lot of people. You get that bill in the mail, but I mean, doggone it, it's still going to be there. So if you can make it go away, it helps everybody.
Yeah.
Heck, I wouldn't even mind if they waited 60 days to pay it. Just pay it this year.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the important.
That doesn't change anything as long as it's
No.
within that period. Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we will stand adjourned at 7:30 p.m.
Well done, Rick, in terms of the sound system.
And
Thank you.
a shout out to Wells County
Oh, yeah.
for